Hi, my name is Ron Morris. I'm the author of There Are Still Unknown Places and some other books. I wanted to talk today about how long a writing session should be, and do more words equal better writing? Obviously, the answer to that question is no, but I'm on a lot of Facebook groups. Yes, I'm older, and these are writers groups, and you see a lot of people who believe that you need to write for a long period of time, like 4 to 8 hours or something like that. And everybody, when they write, we look at the word count and we're like, oh, I'm writing, so many thousand words. Oh, how good am I? And oh, a novel is supposed to be long, so more writing and more words is better. I can just go on and on and on. But first, in my experience and in the experience of a lot of writers who are trying to write beautiful language or beautiful words or something that's evocative in the words themselves, not just using words to relate stories or events, but to create the feeling. Or maybe I just should say for me, I can usually write in a day 2 hours to 4 hours at most. So if you're one of those people who wants to write and you think, well, I'll go to a cabin somewhere or to the beach and I'll write 8 or 16 hours a day. Well, that's impractical and silly, because the mind gets emptied of its emotion and thought after a while, and you just cannot just go on and just pile up words, or you just get a lot of like a memoir or a diary recounting things. And indeed, a lot of these books that people put out, most people, their first book is something like a diary. They said, well, look, I wrote a lot in a diary. I'll just make that into a novel. It's a lot of words. But a lot of words isn't always better. And I had an example here of what I try to do in my writing. And I'll put these texts down in the description so you could look them up. So in the novel, I wanted to describe something. I wanted to describe, there's a character in Thailand, and he's referring to how the beaches in Thailand are different than the public beaches back in the West. So, I start writing, and of course it's a novel. So it's like, oh, I got one page, 2 page, like 2.5 pages full of descriptions of how it is back in the West compared to Thailand. And a lot of people just leave it at that when they're writing a novel. But my suggestion is you go back through each section of the novel and see if you could take that 2 pages of description or 2 pages of digression and compact it down to like 2 big, long lyrical sentences. So at one round of editing in my book, I did that. So that 2.5 pages, here's what I reduced it to. I reduced it to 1 long sentence, because it was a digression anyway. It wasn't the main thrust of the story. So I just wanted to get that whole blob of information, but say it in a beautiful way, or what I think is a beautiful way. Here's what I wrote, and this will be in the description too. There were many public beaches, but these were not paradise, rather nightmares of cement walkways and stairs, of forever bulldozing trucks manipulating the sands, of seawalls and jealous houses of the rich, and boardwalks and indifferent buildings standing shoulder to shoulder, of hectoring signs, warning of fines, of aggressive people and packed parking lots. So that's a compacting down. And sometimes another thing that happens that's very good when you compact is you lose the specificity, and that's good, because if you say things in a more general way, people can read themselves into it or read into your text whatever they want. as opposed to you specifically telling a person every detail. This is why I don't like character descriptions either. It's not really relevant most of the time what color the hair is and what they look like. They're just a person, and you should be identifying with their mood, their tone, their emotions. It's not usually relevant, I think, in my humble opinion, their physical description or even what they wear. That's a very broad, but so here is another example of a text, and this is there's a Thai girl, and she is kind of alone and isolated in the city, and she carries all of her past with her, and she has lots of friends, but yet she's also alone and closed off, as kind of we all are in life. See, we're together with other people all the time, but we're also apart because nobody knows our story. You can't really relate your story to other people. People have their own internal worlds. And I wanted to capture the beauty of this person in time, in the context of history, which is sort of what my book, There Are Still Unknown Places, is about. So, hold on, where is that? Okay. And this is her in her little lonely city apartment, where she thinks about and balances out all the things in her life. So this is kind of my summing up of her, a crystallizing of what this person is. And again, this was much longer and lots of description, and sometimes it's better to make it shorter and less definite. Okay, I'll read it for you. I'll put this in the description if it'll fit. Okay. She knelt on a mat in her room to meditate. Immediately beside her was the little desk that her father had bought her when she was in school. She had studied as she should, as everyone was supposed to, and she, right then, was a thing of her time and place, in the mountain of life, blind to the whirling stars above or the eternity before and after that she never knew. No one knew what thing she held in her heart, nor would they ever, but she did not know that then. She was right there, kneeling on her little mat, untouchable, being the perfect and imperfect thing that she was. So that is what I'm trying to do, to reduce a lot of description to a crystallized thing. And you see, when you go through that process of taking 2 or 3 pages of stuff and cramming it down into maybe a few sentences, it can become sort of lyrical. It can have a sense of poetry, because you have to employ that to reduce it, because the language and all this language stuff I'm talking about is not about just relaying information and telling a story. And I see this in a lot of current books I read. People now just write direct information to tell you the story. I think in hopes that that story will become a movie or something. Every book is considered sort of disabled, a disabled version of the movie. It's like, oh, you wrote a book? Oh, too bad it's not a movie. I hope someday it can grow up to be a movie. So mass media has sort of hurt our view of what a book is and what a book can do. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. You don't have to write for 8 hours. You can't really write beautiful writing in 8 hours. You can only do it in a smaller stretch. And try the method of reducing 2 or 3 hours of just burble going on and on, a novel, because it's lots of words. Try reducing that to a short, descriptive paragraph or a couple sentences. See what happens to your writing. See if it becomes more lyrical, more beautiful, more universal, because it's not as specific. Anyway, it's something to try. And this is my book. Lots of examples of this in here. Also, lots of examples probably that prove the opposite. But this is my book of life and all of history together, contrasting with regular people and their own history. So it's on Amazon Kindle, it's in the bookstores, etc. So please read it. Let me know what you think. Thank you.